Our group is assigned SDG 16, Peace and Justice Strong Institutions. Today we focus on Echoes of Femicide, emphasizing change, hope, and equality for survivors. Before we begin, let us acknowledge that York University is on the traditional territory of Indigenous nations. We honor the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant and recognize our presence on this territory. To begin, we want to focus on the SDGs which our project is connected to. Our main indicators come from SDG 16, which are reducing victims of intentional homicide and reducing the proportion of the population which is subject to violence. Our subsequent indicators are from SDG 5, gender equality, and SDG 17, partnerships between institutions. Our project focuses on femicide, which is defined by Oxford as the crime of killing a woman or girl because she identifies as female. Let's delve into femicide and its impact on two distinct communities. The first is the Indigenous communities in Canada. We are confronted with a harsh reality rooted in historical injustices, colonialism, and forced assimilation. This has led to the cultural ethnocide and genocide within Indigenous communities. A particularly concerning aspect is the role of the RCMP as highlighted in the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Final Report of 2019. Turning our attention to the migrant communities in the UK, we see a different set of challenges. Individuals in these communities live with the constant fear of criminalization and deportation. They face prejudice, discrimination, and are subject to financial control through visas, as reported by the Migration Observatory at the University of Oxford in 2022. What's striking here is that despite the unique circumstances of these groups, they share a common thread, a heightened risk that demands our attention. Our project objective is clear: to bridge knowledge gaps in universities and raise awareness on femicide in Indigenous and migrant communities. We hope to do this through connecting York University in Toronto, Canada, and Brunel University in London, England, as well as subsequent organizations where we can carry out our project. Universities are not just places of learning, they're catalysts for change. We have put together the early stages of an awareness campaign to address this issue.
We're in the process of contacting our NGOs. However, to identify the needs of our targets, we did some research to gain a better understanding of their viewpoints and incorporate into our awareness campaign. The final report, which was linked on an NGO's website for the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, we looked at two particular calls for action: a decolonization approach to address the lack of education people may have on Indigenous populations and promote a growing awareness towards understanding how the problem of femicide can be rooted in Canadian history. The second call of action would be the knowledge of trauma, which is essential to be incorporated into policies, procedures, and practices of solution and services to also exemplify the importance of educating people on the issue at hand. In terms of migrant communities in the UK, we base it off the NGO End Violence Against Women, an organization in the UK which is composed of women support services, researchers, activists, survivors, and NGOs working together to end violence against women and girls in all its forms. We were able to highlight that there is a call to reform the definition in the domestic violence and abuse bill. Both communities have a growing concern toward the need to properly define femicide in relation to the needs of these particular populations of people. Therefore, awareness is the first step towards recognizing that an issue exists, and we believe that it begins in the walls of our university. The steps of advocacy can lead to change. Once you're aware of an issue, you cannot undo your awareness. Knowledge is power, and we hold that power. Many university students are future doctors, lawyers, politicians, and will occupy many other positions in society. The small things we do in our everyday life contribute to the world as a whole. As Nelson Mandela says, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Our goal was to start with the population of university students to spread knowledge, spark interest, and gain urgency to broaden our project to a global extent. In relation to our infographics, we discussed the important statistical facts drew on inside reports released by the RCMP, which go over issues surrounding data collection. Each of our infographics have a QR code that redirects the individuals to NGOs that have more information, as well as European organizations that can pertain to Indigenous student advocacy. As well as we conclude some cases on the family's account for a lack of investigation in respect to their loved ones. Similarly, the other infographic addresses recommendations for governments, call to actions that can support and spread awareness for the issues that we are discussing at hand. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed our presentation.